To this edition of the Angels and Destiny show. Why is this show called this, you may ask? So I'll tell you. The acceptament of angel is messenger, and the acceptament of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guest and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And also, I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Natalia Komis. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live as later date, as it really does mean a lot to us to connect with like minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm a guide who helps you remember your divine presence so that you can heal your past, create your future, and transform your present to expand your consciousness, understand your spiritual path, and take charge of your destiny so that you can spread your wings and soar. I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and through Divine Presence, virtual lecture retreats, transformational packages, a 6-week guided meditation series for confidence, workshops, and so much more, I help you remember why you are here, your spiritual path, and the clarity of the next steps to take. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading, with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Natalia Komis, who will be talking about the increasing influence of AI and the potential impact on humanity's future. And will those of us who remember Atlantis avoid repeating the same mistakes this time round? Now, Natalia is an intuitive business mentor, spiritual leader, and soul channel. She is known for her entrepreneurial mission led projects that empower the visionary leaders of tomorrow, supporting conscious entrepreneurs and female leaders around the world since 2012. Natalia is passionate about sharing the strategies, insights, and spiritual techniques she's learned along the way so that your mission is brought to the world with ease and impact. Her creative and holistic approach to business is revolutionizing the way we see and do work and making a living. While her unique modern businesses, programs, and concepts like Elemental Business Design and the Temple Journey allow others to embrace their individuality, discover their true calling, and create and accelerate memorable businesses that change the world. She's passionate about being an advocate for gender equality, empowering those who are disadvantaged, and sharing stories about those living their soul mission, which she explores on the Humans on a Mission podcast. An international artist, she channels creative light code activations. And I've lost her for a second, but I will continue introducing her. And as a natural energy healer, she now uses her gifts to channel messages to aid her clients' connection and growth. Now, with testimonials such as working with Natalia over the last 6 months has been incredible. Natalia is there every step of the way, helping to support me in clarifying my direction, understanding my soul purpose, and giving her genuine feedback. She truly cares for each and every one of us and has so much business and spiritual wisdom to offer. And working with Natalia is a transformative experience on many levels. She truly cares about the whole person, how the mental, emotional, and spiritual elements come together in defining your mission and bringing it out to the world. So, whilst we wait for Natalia to come back, obviously we're going to be talking about AI and Atlantis today. So, it'll be really interesting if you want to put in your comments. About your experience with AI, with Atlantis, and see how, whether they resonate with what Natalia is going to be talking about. So I'm hoping she's going to come back to us. She's suddenly disappeared, so hopefully, fingers crossed. So I'll just continue waffling myself. So whilst we're waiting, just to let you know about some upcoming events that I'm going to be doing. So obviously this weekend coming up, I'm going to be in Glastonbury running a retreat, which will be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to that. I love Glastonbury and running with people down there. I'm also the following weekend going to be down at Detling doing a well-being event down there, which will be absolutely brilliant. So if you're in the Kent area and in Detling, then please do come down and see us. And I'm just messaging Natalia to uh, Okay, so she can see and hear, but I can't see or hear you. Um, so if you can see and hear me, Natalia, do you want to come out and then come back into the show again and see if we can get you in this way? Um, then that way we can see what we're doing. So I'll put that in there anyway. Come out and back in again. See, this is the beauty of live shows. You never know what's going to happen. And obviously with all the energies about, and the fact we're talking about AI and Atlantis is very, very interesting. Oh, and I think Natalia is back with us. Just there she is. Just wait for her to come back in. 3, 2, 1. Hello.
I don't know what happened.
Who knows? As I said,
I could
AI.
hear you. I was like, why am I not available? The internet's clearly here.
Yes,
So yeah,
it was. Oh, good. So at least you heard me talking about
I
you,
did. Thank you very much.
which is absolutely brilliant. So now that you're back, without further delay, hello, Natalia, and welcome to the Angels of Destiny show. How are you today?
I'm brilliant. Even better now that I'm actually live. Thank you so much for a beautiful introduction. And hello, everybody. I'm excited for chatting. I'm excited to chat with you all and for this topic as well.
Yes. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Natalia and I want to be part of this conversation. So please don't be shy. So, Natalia, why don't you tell us more about your journey and about how AI, Atlantis, and past lives are connected and could possibly determine our future?
Yeah, well, how long have you got?
You've got as long as you want.
Okay, well, I'm going to very briefly just share a little bit about my journey in that I was brought up quite in quite a spiritual environment or setting, rather, in that my mum is a healer and spiritual herself. So I was always quite open to seeing different things and believing, and quite open-minded, and was always fascinated by ancient culture and understanding like the old ways and all the kind of mystery. I remember excuse me, wanting to actually study archaeology and marine archaeology especially, and I was fascinated by finding secret treasures and under the sea and all of that kind of stuff. So Atlantis was always quite an interesting mystery to me, but I didn't really delve into it properly until much later in more recent years. But as a child, I would see spirits. I was very connected to other realms, to the elements, to the angels, to God. I was always in other dimensions, flying around the cosmos, doing all sorts of things, and it was just normal to me. Like I just didn't think. I just thought everyone could do these kind of things. And it wasn't until I started really talking about, oh, I saw this old man like when I went upstairs, and this other thing happened to me, and this a really annoying girl keeps really trying to torment me at night, and she keeps pretending she's my sister, and all these different things. Like, she keeps getting into bed with me. Okay, a little bit weird. Luckily, my mum had also experienced these kind of things.
Thank God for that one.
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff was very interesting to me, to always dive deeper and to uncover more and to try and understand how it's connected to who we are now and to our lives now. And I used to have a lot of repetitive dreams when I was younger, and it's only when I got older I realized that so many of them were connected to past lives and to things I'd actually experienced at some point, or memories that I'd held. And so I started to really connect with that and to understand, trying to understand and just really be as I said, open to, maybe I had a past life in this situation. Maybe I shall explore this a little bit, or let me just see if anything comes up when I tune into that. And so I've always been interested and available to receive information in that way, right? And so when I really started to come out of the spiritual closet publicly, so I've been doing a lot of this kind of work behind the scenes, and I've been sent to all kinds of places around the world to do a lot of clearing work, a lot of energy work that I was conscious and unconscious about. I mean, I was conscious that I was going for more than what I was going for, but I was not necessarily aware of why until I was there, or until afterwards. And I was always going to places where there'd been either really big, like either there'd been tsunamis or earthquakes or wars, like big, like cataclysmic, catastrophic events to a certain scale, as well as recent ones. Or I was literally, so for example, in Nepal, I was there for the 2015 earthquake.
Wow.
And it was quite a big deal, especially because I'd been working there at the time and for a few years prior. So I knew a lot of people, and it was very significant for me being there. There was a lot of stuff that happened and consequently happened afterwards as well. And the energy that, something like that creates is like huge. And it propelled me into going even deeper. I remember that particular time that I went was the first time I held a guided meditation for others. And it wasn't even like I was at a retreat or a spiritual thing. There was nothing like that. I was actually working with Nepali mountaineers and helping them conquer Everest for the 15th time, and bringing internet to Everest of all things, which was, I was very it was a very difficult one for me, because there was a lot of moral implications in it. Do we want that kind of thing and on this sacred mountain? Do I want to participate in this kind of project? And it was kind of the start of all of this, of modern technology and how it's connected to the ancient, to the sacred, to the spiritual, and how all of it can connect in some way and support us. And is it something that we should be doing? And when we do it, what are the implications, and what do we need to know to make it as a positive experience for all, right? Including the earth. And I think that was a really big one for me. How can we try and minimize the impact that the earth is going to be having? So that's kind of where it started. And because of that, and because of the earthquake and a lot of things that kind of happened from that point, I ended up being sent on a different mission away from Nepal, away from the business I was running at the time, which was called I'm Adventures. It was like a creative walking business for women and girls. And I just went down a completely different path. And as I started doing that, more and more I became more comfortable with opening up about these experiences, opening up about my spirituality, opening up about my gifts, really. And how can I bring this into my work? And is it okay to bring it into my work? And how does that look? And how is that going to be received? And what can I do that, do I want to do that? Do I even? And I still have moments even now. I took some time off recently because I was just getting really disillusioned by the whole space, by spirituality and the mainstream, and how it's, being used and abused as it always has done for many, many years, many aeons. Anything that's connected to our faith and to belief and can be manipulated and can manipulate others. And I think that we are facing a point in time now where there is a real shift happening. There's a lot of people waking up. There's a lot of people coming back to themselves, wanting to understand themselves better, wanting to tap into the resources that they have within them, and to source and universe and whatever you want to call it, God, whatever you believe in, angels. But there are also a lot of people who are manipulating their positions and power, and as has always been, almost preying on the vulnerable who haven't yet stepped into their power, right? The gurus out there who think that doing whatever, creating whatever business in this manner is going to help them succeed, help them with their own narcissistic tendencies. And so when we look at then technology and how that plays into this, and those who are handling this new technology, the same kind of applies, right?
Yeah.
And so recently, I was actually, as I was taking this time out, I was really questioning, what do I want to be doing? Do I really want to be staying in this realm in a business capacity? How can I serve? How can I be of service here in a way that's actually going to be helpful and supportive? And one of the things that happened was I was literally in a meditation for about 4 hours, and I just kind of went on this journey, and I literally just ended up healing myself in different ways and channeling all this stuff. And I went into the Akashic records and I saw these amazing things through all these different beings' eyes. It was literally amazing. And I got this whole thing about Atlantis. And so going back to that, Atlantis has been a huge part of my life for the last, since about early 2019, 2018 in particular, when I arrived and moved to a particular part of Spain, which is just on the Strait of Gibraltar. And I tapped into a past life that I'd had here in a Roman settlement, in fact, as a priestess of Isis. And when I did that, it completely woke me up to Atlantis again. And I ended up channeling all the stuff about Atlantis and the goddesses. And this is when I channeled the Temple Journey program, which is the sacred temples of ascension, 5 sacred temples of ascension, one of them being connected to Atlantis and connected to also this area in the world. And so it's, it doesn't feel like a coincidence that coming back here, and then I left there, right? I left that area and then I came back very recently. It doesn't feel like a coincidence that suddenly I'm going, Atlantis again, right? And I was just like, okay, what do you want me to do? How can I be of service in this situation here? What is it about this information that you're giving me that needs to be heard or seen or whatever, right? What do you want me to do with this? As you do sometimes, like,
Yeah,
oh, that's great, but now what? Real world?
Give me some idea, please.
Yeah. Bring it back to the 3D. So funnily enough, I ended up meeting my now partner, my boyfriend here. And I knew I was going to. I had this knowing that when I go back to Spain, this is going to happen. And within minutes, we both knew that we knew each other. And the second time that we met, I was like, oh, we've had a past life in Atlantis. I just know this. And since then, I've seen it. I've seen the experiences that we've had and lives since then. And it's so normal for me to go, okay, this has all happened at this exact point in time because it's all about Atlantis right now.
Yeah.
And literally just before we met was when ChatGPT and all the AI stuff came out, okay? And of course, he's a programmer. He's into all of this. He knows all about this. He is fascinated about free energy and all of these different things that are connected to Atlantis, you know, and there's all kinds of connections that I have around that as well. And so it's just, this all makes sense. All makes sense. There's a reason why this is happening right now, because we need to understand the connections between what happened in Atlantis the first time round and what is happening now. And a lot of healing sessions I've been doing lately have really been focusing on a huge scale in comparison to even a few months ago on reconnecting to past lives, clearing and retelling the stories, and creating new stories around it, right, for the future. And going back way back, you know, beyond even Atlantis, like back to the beginning of time, and having to start again. And it's so fascinating and it's so powerful to be able to do that. And it's exactly what is needing to happen right now, because we've held on to this story and this trauma and these like beliefs and all of the stuff from that time. And it's all resurfacing now, because we're like, the people that were there, we're getting triggered by all of this stuff that's happening now. And not necessarily in a bad way. It's like we're going, oh, hold on. This is ringing a bell. I know how this plays out. Do I want to get involved in this? And I literally, I realized this recently. In fact, in that meditation, I realized this is why I've taken a step back, because I was scared. I was scared that if I continue going, the same thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be a repeat, right? So what's the point? And so I realized that something needs to change. And that's not going to change until those of us who have this knowledge and have the capacity to talk about it and to share and to create and co-create in a way that's actually going to be of benefit to humankind, of benefit to the planet, of benefit to all, right? We're in the Aquarius Age now. Like, what is that? Philanthropy, innovation, modernization, like it is going to happen. Like AI within 6 months has shifted so many things. And in the next 6 months, we're going to see, honestly, the fastest change that we've ever seen for like as long as we can remember, since the time of Atlantis, literally. And this is where the connection lies. And, you know, when Plato was talking about this and wrote about it, Atlantis, we don't know for sure if he meant the real Atlantis, if it was a story. You know, there's so many different things about it, and it doesn't really matter what you believe. You know, even if what I'm saying today doesn't ring true for you, the point is, it's a story to remind us of what can happen, right? It's about the consequences of misuse of power. Yes. Of what happens when we see huge, fast changes that we're not prepared for. You know, and this is where we go into what people like Elon Musk are talking about, what we were talking about earlier, in terms of, you know, like they're building this stuff, they're creating it, and yet they're also warning us. They're letting us know about these dangers. Most people are blind to it. Most people don't even know what AI is capable of. I'm telling you, it's capable of so many things, like so many things. And it's only in the last few months I've even been delving into all of this. Like I've gone way down the rabbit hole. My moon's in Scorpio, so I'm just like, let's dive straight in, and and try and understand it, because it's important that we do. It's important that we get it.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, the people who are corrupt, the people who are in power, the people who are going, heck, I can use this to do X, Y, Z, and no one will be none the wiser. They won't even know. Right?
Yeah.
And that is why, I'm so passionate about this. And that's why I suggested we talk about this today, because the time is now. The time is now. And I'm seeing so many people starting to wake up to their Atlantean energies, to needing to, like, they're getting, as I said, they're getting triggered. They're needing to clear all of that so that they can go, okay, this time, this is the time to do it different. I don't need to repeat that same pattern, that same contract, that same mistake. I don't need to make those types of decisions. I know that this time it's this path.
Yes.
And that's where we are.
Yeah, which is absolutely fascinating, because I do a journey through lifetimes where I take people back to their first ever incarnation on Earth, or for other planets they come from, and I've had several people that at some point were part of Atlantis. Somebody was at, he actually was part of the destruction of
Yeah.
of of Atlantis, and it is sort of like clearing, understanding why at the time they did that, and clearing it so that it's no longer affecting them in this lifetime. So as you said, that they can be aware of what they did do then and how they used it, so it's so they don't need to follow that same pattern this time round.
Yeah.
Which is so important.
Definitely. And I think sometimes there's this hopelessness that comes into play, in that scenario where you are given in to going, I know how this plays out. I'm just going to ride the wave for as long as I can and just allow, because I know the end. I know what happens, and it's honestly, it's like, if of course that's going to happen if we don't do something about it, right?
Yeah.
And there's I believe there's reasons for everything. And I think that the last few years there has been such a show of the deep corruption and misuse of power and greed in so many different ways that many people are seeing this now, and I do think there's hope for how we can harness technology and AI and all the things that are coming out, all of the new advancements for the greater good. And, I do hold on to that because I kind of have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's not, then fine. But at least some of us do something, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think there are a lot more people that are actually open to this and kind of like, okay, yeah, we need to, that aren't in the fear state. Oh my God, AI is going to overtake us. Yes, there are people that that do feel that, especially in the spiritual community. But it is a case of, it's like all archetypes. you know it's how you use it is to what happens to it. A round sphere can be used as a football to play football, or it can be used as a cannonball. It's just
Exactly.
a archetype, and AI is an archetype really, and it can be used by different people for different things. But yeah, we need to be aware of what it is capable of, what people are capable of using it for, so that when that does start to happen, if that starts to happen, we can go, whoa, hold on a second here.
Yeah. Well, there is no turning back right now.
No.
Okay. It's out there. it's advancing on so many levels at the fastest pace we've ever known. And so the only thing we can do is responsible decision making, use our powers for good as much as possible, use our voice, right? Not give our power away continuously to the gurus and the politicians and the this and the that and the elite. This is exactly what played out in Atlantis. We had the elite who made the decisions and ended up doing that for selfish gain. And what's interesting about the time that we're in now, for me, Atlantis and this Aquarius energy are so linked, because it is all about tech and innovation, but it's also about how can we use this for good? How can we create, how can we be more humanitarian with it? And previously, in all the thousands of years so far, we've been in the Piscean Age, which is pretty, for want of a better word, narcissistic. Okay.
Yeah.
It is very, like, you can go really down in the depths and lose your emotions, suppress your emotions, like all of the kind of the more what's the word I'm looking for? In a way, you become addicted, right? And if we look at Atlantis, it was addicted to greed, to power, to technology, but not necessarily in the good way. And so I think that gives me hope in that actually the energy has completely shifted now.
Yeah.
Now is the rerun. Now we can go, you know what? Things are working out in our favor. The stars have aligned for this to work differently this time. But we have to go, yeah, we can do that. And we're going to let go of all of this other stuff we've been carrying that has been making us believe we can't do it differently.
Yeah. And that is the big thing, remembering that we can do it differently now. And those that I can see watching, please do say hello. And if you've got any questions you want to ask, or any theories or thoughts you have on Atlantis or AI, then please do share them with us. It'll be so fascinating to hear what you feel about it, and what you think about it, because it is kind of like realizing that we have the power. We see everything that's going on in the world, and we see things, we think they're out of our control, etc. To a certain degree they are, but they're not. We as a collective energy have the power. When we come together, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, we have the strength and the power individually and together as a collective to make changes.
Yeah, I fully believe that as well. I think, I mentioned how me and my now partner came together, and like I know that our life previously in Atlantis, we made some bad decisions potentially, right? And we're now working together on actually creating a new business, working with AI for this exact thing that we're talking about, right? And it's, the way that I see it is, how can we do this in a way that is actually changing what we did, rewriting the course of all of this, right? How can we bring about positive change this time? And how can we avoid the pitfalls from the previous time? What lessons have we learned that we can apply? And I think that's a big one, of actually connecting to that. What is it that we've learned this time round? Have we made the same mistakes so far? What can we do to rectify that? And there's so much talk about ethics in AI and the moral implications and what it means for all the, for example, all the people who are going to lose their jobs, who have already lost their jobs. Then that is unfortunately inevitable to a certain extent. And what comes in place for that? How does the collective benefit when we see this? And if we were to actually look back at Atlantis, if we were to truly connect with what was the real vision before the misuse of power, it was this beautiful place, this magical haven, right? Powered by crystals and free energy, and none of this 5 potential people ruling everything, right? And I think it actually was 5 people. It was meant to. It's the 5 kings who were connected to Poseidon, and if we look at what's going on in the world now, is quite a similar and interesting
Yeah.
juxtaposition and connection, right?
Yeah.
And but the beauty of it was, well, actually, people can just be and live. Like, do we need to be working for money to pay for our energy, to pay for our taxes, to pay for all these things that didn't even potentially exist back then? And what could that look like? What could it mean for us to have an era of technology that allows us to live in a totally different way, but in a way that allows us to be fully free? And could that exist? Does that exist? Can technology even do that for us? Or do we become entrapped by it, right? And there's so many different, philosophers are gonna have a freaking party over all of this stuff that's going to be coming out recently. And I don't think anybody has a clear answer yet. But I think unless we can keep moving forwards in a way that is believing that we're doing the best we can with what we have and the knowledge that we have, and by rewriting some of this stuff, and making responsible decisions, not based on ego.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only answer right now. And maybe Plato's story was a cautionary tale, but it's a pretty relevant cautionary tale, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, totally. And I think, it's kind of like, just as we're sitting here chatting, you know, the difference between then and now was that then everyone, it was a sort of like, trust.
Mm.
You know, these people are for a high, are keeping everything in sync. We trust. We know we have all this free stuff. We know that we can survive by ourselves, etc. But we
Mm.
have these people, that guide us and keep us and direct us. Whereas now, when we're coming into it, because of everything that's happened through the lifetimes, people are now not as, what's the word I'm looking for? They're a little bit more jaded, so
Mm.
they're not going to accept as easily
Yeah.
as they might have done back in Atlantean times. When this stuff starts to change, there's going to be more people questioning it than there was back then, because of what we've gone through over all these years. And then, obviously, as you said, in the last 3 years or so, with what's gone on, more and more things have been revealed that
Mm.
probably weren't revealed back in Atlantis, because people were a lot more accepting and trusting.
Yeah, and I think, if we think about it, we had priests, and the gods were still there. Poseidon, the whole story goes that Poseidon actually was annoyed by how greedy and corrupt it got, and that's where the earthquake and the tsunami came from. And I don't think it's a coincidence that 2 of the biggest natural disasters that we've had in the last 30 years, I was actually there and present, and was there for the aftermath, and all of these things are connected. And I do think there's lessons to be learned in even the most recent things that have happened. And why have these things happened? Why have we had these memories being jolted constantly to kind of shift something in us, to remind us, hold on, like, do you know where you are? Do you know what's coming next? And I do think people are, the rose-tinted glasses are coming off.
Yeah.
And people are starting to question their beliefs, who they've actually come from, where they've come from, and what is important to them. And I think, regardless of whether they believe in, the kind of stuff that we're talking about today, or whether it's even just changing their mind about things that they've believed for a long time, politics, medicine, like the way that they're seeing different people changing their opinions all the time. We've had how many politicians in the UK
Yeah, I
recently?
know.
Like, and nothing really stands anymore. Like, nothing seems true. There is like moral judgment, right? And discernment, and trust and honesty and integrity is like non-existent in these places. And so it comes back to the individual to do it for the collective, right? It's okay, well, you know what? I'm going to believe in my stuff now. And what is my heart telling me? What is my soul telling me? What do I want to do for my community, right? How do I feel in connection to God, the universe, the energy around me, the nature? Nature is like the simplest one to come back to. And where do I stand with that? And it's interesting that we're seeing so much about climate change and all these other things that have been going on. And again, it's this, there's so much division that happens in every angle, in every area of all of these things. And I believe that the division is created on purpose to stop us from
Yeah.
being able to actually make real change, and to be able to truly come back to what's important, because it shifts our attention too much in the wrong place, or it divides our attention and divides us as a collective, right?
Yeah.
And so I think those who are misusing their power are potentially going to face the consequences that they faced back in Atlantis. And those who work on avoiding those pitfalls and learning from it and changing that energy and course of direction for themselves, and consequently for the collective good, their consequences are going to be hopefully different.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I do. I do future life progression, and talking to other future life progressionists, and the clients we work with, there is hope. Things are different. 10 years time, the air's cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
We are living a much more natural, organic world. And by tapping in that, and we're bringing that stuff, that energy back now to actually create, to perpetuate that energy that's already started by people that are remembering about Atlantis. So, what are you kind of like? So, how are you creating to help people?
Yeah.
Remember and to actually move forward now.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did do, and still do, is when I first tapped into it all and started connecting to my past life there, channeling all this, I channeled a program called the Temple Journey program. And it's actually bringing what I call the 5 sacred temples of ascension that are coming into our awareness and into our actual physical plane now, and initiating women especially into these spaces. and into these realms and into these temples to then hold that energy in different parts of the world. Now, since I've been doing that, and I've ran it 3 times so far, so much has happened and changed in the world since. And I'm not saying it's because of this, but it's very interesting that it's all happened at the same time, right? And it does feel like it needed to happen exactly at that point because of all of these changes. And more and more keeps coming in for that. And the temple of Atlantis is actually the goddess temple, and it's connected to the feminine energy and to healing that. And when I was thinking about this recently, one of the things with Atlantis is there was such a wounded masculine energy that was at play and still is at play in our current society. And, we talk quite a lot, I think, in general in our society and in the spiritual realms and world that we're in, especially in the last maybe 10 years or so, about the rise of the feminine and like all of these different things. And I do believe that is happening and that that's relevant. But I think now we're seeing a healing that is taking place in the masculine, and the wounded masculine is getting attention, and and the feminine is helping that, of course, as well. And I think that there's a big part to play in how are we bringing these two aspects to us. And I think there's a lot around gender that keeps coming up lately, and how does that play into the idea of robots coming in and all of these other things. Everything's connected, and so I think I personally feel like my most important work so far up until now has been that, and helping women to heal their masculine and feminine and to heal their wounds, because our wounds are literally the point of creation, right? And each initiate holds such important responsibility, because they have to bring this new energy in. They're literally the temples themselves bringing in this energy in so many different parts of the world, and it's fascinating to me, this. But since then, and as I said, since I've reconnected to Atlantis even more, since being back in southern Spain, just in the Straits of Gibraltar by the Pillars of Hercules, I do feel that this is where I need to be in order to really support people to connect to AI and technology in a way that is conscious and holistic and positive. And so I'm actually just bringing out a new course and program all about this, and called the Atlantean Revival, and about how we can do this in a new way, and supporting those who are business owners or leaders, or people who have access to all of this, to help them to understand how to use AI in their spaces in a way that is positive, in a way that is good. Because just like, one of my biggest things always has been, if we have more people who are kind, who are gentle, who are sensitive, who are connected, who actually have a mission that they believe is for the greater good in whatever form that is, and who are self-expressed in the truest form, which is love, right? Then, if we have more of those people running businesses in places of powerful positions, sharing their voices, those people are the ones we need to understand what is happening, to understand how to use this technology. Because if we only have the people who are doing the things that we don't want them to do, then that's not going to work out well for us. So that's my mission right now, Atlantis 2.0 in a new and better way, and supporting my clients to connect to that energy, to go back into that world, into those realms, to rewrite it, and then to use it in a real practical way. How can we harness this technology in a way that's actually going to support and benefit you? So
Yeah, which is absolutely amazing, and something that's that's work that's brought you to the point where you are now, with the partner you've met now. And I just love the way that these things always weave together to bring us to the point where we are, we fully step into our power and start doing the things that we're supposed to be doing here on earth at this moment in time.
yeah, yeah,
So it's brilliant that you're actually
totally.
doing that.
And isn't it
uh,
funny how we're going, you know what, let's create this together. Let's create a business that helps us both rewrite our stories, right? Helps us to change this. Now, we did this whole thing previously. Let's do a rerun, but this time let's do it in a new way. And I
exactly, yeah, in
and I feel
completely
that's the
different.
lesson for all of us.
Yeah, perfect. So, as you know, I do angel oracle card readings and I
Mm-hmm.
do guided meditation. So each week, I like to ask my guests what they would like me to do for themselves and those watching. So, Natalia, what would you like me
Mm-hmm.
to do?
I'd love a angel card reading.
Funny enough, I have the cards in my hand as we speak
You.
because that's what I do. Yeah, I just like having cards. God, I don't, God knows if I'm going to end up buying new cards when I go down to Glastonbury. I never intend to buy crystals or cards when I go down to Glastonbury, but
It's kind of
somehow
inevitable, though, isn't it?
it's kind of like, ooh, yeah, I'll be good, she says. So, what does Natalia and everyone need to know for their highest goods at the moment in time? Now, obviously, when I do the cards for what we need to know for our highest good at this moment in time, because although I work with the past and take people back to the past, it is to go back to the past, learn and heal from it, so be fully present. And when I take people into the future, it's to learn and understand the future, to bring it all back to the present. So everything is for the present. So what does Natalia and everyone who's watching this live or the replay need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? What does Natalia and everyone who's watching this live or the replay need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? Okay.
I'm excited.
Okay, so the card we've got to come out is overcoming obstacles. You can overcome anything.
Oh, interesting. It's on a sphere as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sort of like, blocking a path, but you have a bird that can bypass all of that because it can just fly over, and you've got a sword that if you were to pull that sword out, that bolt will just all go to one side. So what the angels and that are saying for you and everyone watching is, whatever obstacles are coming your way, you can overcome them, you can move past them, you have the inner knowing, the strength to do that, and you have the tools around you to help you get over those obstacles that might stop you on your path of moving forward, because the paths and the path is now there and it cannot be stopped. So it doesn't matter what obstacles come in the way of that path, you're going to be able to overcome them by using what tools you've got around you at this moment in time and your own inner knowing and strength to actually move past that.
Yes, I love that.
Um,
Okay, listen up, guys. Those obstacles are being removed. We don't need to worry about how it's going to work out, and all of that hope piece that we were talking about, really, isn't it, as well?
exactly, exactly. So, Natalia, do you have any insights or thoughts or last words of wisdom to leave our viewers? Because everyone's been really quiet on the chat today.
Yes, interesting.
I think they've been very sort of like focused on what we've been talking about.
Have I got any insights? I think that if you feel that you have a connection to Atlantis, or that there's a lot of emotions that come up for you when you hear about all of the AI stuff and technology. Maybe even you've been affected by it already. You know, I do believe there's good in it. And I think it's for us to find how we can harness it for change in a way that is not going to disrupt, or rather in a way that is going to disrupt the way that we have been living so far, because that kind of needs to happen. And change isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's purely about how we can navigate that change and how we can harness it for the earth and for humanity's next level. And that's what we're doing. We're up leveling. All of us are up leveling. So it's not about rewriting even. It's not about, how have we, what are the lessons that we need to be fixing. It's how can we do this in a way that allows us to step into our power even more, that we can harness and support others with. What I was asking the other day in terms of how can I be of service, right? How can we be of service? And I'm going off on a tangent here, but
Cool.
one of the things that I feel is very interesting about AI, right, is this idea that it serves us. And we, a lot of it helps you because you don't need all of these other, let's say, assistants and team members and blah, 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 and it's of service to you. Well, how can we flip that on its coin, right? How can we be of service by harnessing this? How can we be of service by going, you know what? Great, this is already happening. What can I do? How can I do something now that is going to shift this and make it go even faster so that we can go to this next level like that, right? So I think with everything, it's how can we shift our perspective on it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is so important and brilliant that you actually you actually brought that up. It is all about our mindset, and it's not being fearful of things. It's working with things. How can we use those things to actually make things better? To be of good to everyone. Um, in the world, to create those communities where we do raise our vibrations. We do bring that unconditional love and unity into the world. So very important that you brought it up. So thank you very much for doing that. Now, I hope everyone that you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So Natalia, if people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
You can find me on Instagram at Natalia Komis. You can go to my website, nataliakomis.com. There's also loads of free resources. I even have a free class at the moment about AI, how to actually be less online, and connecting to AI in that way, so that you're not constantly living on technology, but actually living in the real world, which is one of the benefits of it, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to go and check that out, that's also on my website.
Excellent. And what I'll do is I'll put those links in the comments. So all you need to do is just literally click on them, and hey, you go straight to Natalia's information. So again, thank you so much, Natalia, for sharing your wisdom. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on the show,
Thank
and I
you.
just love this conversation. And I think that in a few months we're going to need to have another conversation to
Yeah,
see
this
where
is
things
just the
actually got
beginning,
to.
really.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah, yeah. This is going to be a continuing conversation over in the next months and years. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
It's going to be interesting to see how the spiritual community take it all on board, how AI comes into play with that. So we'll see what happens in the next few months.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting because those on the spiritual path do have so much influence over it now, and it can be
Hmm.
used so much for the good of everyone involved.
Yeah.
And of course, if you are now ready to remember your divine presence and step onto your spiritual multidimensional path, but you feel lost, confused, stuck, or alone, then please feel free to reach out and connect with me so we can see where you are now and how you can move forward to take charge of your destiny so you can spread your wings and soar. And of course, I'm more than happy to take you back into a past life if you do feel like you've connected to Atlantis, so we can help you move forward, so you can be one of these new people, one of these people stepping forward and going, right, I'm making a difference now. I'm making a change. I'm going to use this, and then we can all connect up with Natalia and see how we move forward. And of course, you can get a free future life progression recording that takes you into future lifetime to gain insights that you need to know now. And also, you can see where AI has gone. And there's
Mm.
also some other free gifts as well if you sign up to my newsletter. So again, thank you everyone so much for watching, and I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny, just like you, who want to know how to move and work with AI. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified when the show goes live, or I post new guided meditations, because each subscription, every comment really helps get my message out there and can be of benefit to yourself and others, so more people get to hear stories like this, so that they can step onto their spiritual path and make a difference in the world. And I look forward to you all joining me same time, same place next week. Again, thank you very much, Natalia, and I'll see you all
Thank you.
soon. Bye.